Welcome to the Niche Pursuits podcast. Today we are talking with Brian Winham. Now, Brian runs and owns a marketing agency, but we're here to talk about his portfolio of websites. And guess what? His portfolio has done just fine through Google's helpful content update and subsequent core updates. And Brian joins us and talks in detail about the strategies he's using to grow his portfolio of websites. He shares what he calls the Catalyst content style of producing content, which he's mostly producing AI content, but it's what he does with it, how he gets it. From Reddit polls to branded traffic to social traffic, he goes into depth on the processes he's using. We also talk about authorship and the web of authorship that he creates around the people associated with his website, and he goes into detail and shares about that. We talk about his monetization strategies. One of them in particular is pretty unique. It's probably something you've heard of, but perhaps not considered as much as other types of monetization. But he does go into all of his different monetization methods for his websites. We talk about Google News, and we talk about his approach to backlinks. All in all, it's a really fascinating interview, and I think that everybody, whether your site has been hit of late or is still growing, will have something to learn from Brian. Good luck and enjoy. All right, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits podcast. My name is Jared Bauman, and today we are joined by Brian Winham. Brian, how you doing?
Very good, Jared. Thanks for having me on today. Much appreciated.
Good. Yeah, excited for today. We're talking about your, basically, we're going to get into the details and into the weeds about your process for building websites and talk through kind of some of the successful strategies you utilize. Before we get into it, we usually, like to hear your backstory a little bit about you. Why don't you tell us more about who you are?
Sure, no problem. So my name is Brian Winham. I'm an agency owner in New York. I live on Long Island. Partners in two different agencies, actually. Max Burst Web Design, which is the web design end of the business, and then Max Places, which is the digital marketing arm. So I'm the partner that's mostly in charge of that stuff. We've been around since 2007 at this point, so we've been around for quite a while. And I also like to do a lot of stuff outside of the agency in the affiliate marketing game, Google News type stuff, and everything else. Primarily what I wanted to talk about today. But so I've been in digital marketing for 20 plus years. Started doing affiliate marketing back in the late 90s, early 2000s, back in the day when I was getting paper checks in the mail for promoting credit card offers and things like that. So I've been in love with it ever since, and it's been a big part of my life every step along the way since then.
Man, affiliate marketing in the late 90s must have been a totally different ballgame.
It was. Yeah, there was nothing like worried about backlinks and all that crap. Just keyword stuff the hell out of the pages and off and running. And there you go. It was great. Just some crazy HTML builders, push it out as much as you can, and see what happens. And then all of a sudden, you get paper checks in the mail out of the blue. Wow.
Well, what were the big affiliate marketing platforms back at that time?
Couldn't even tell you off the top of my head. Don't even remember.
Yeah.
It's all a blur at this point.
I don't blame you. Yeah, that was a while ago. Well, today we're talking about kind of more specifically your website building that you do, your affiliate marketing. We'll table the agency side of things, although I'm sure a lot of what you're going to talk about is applicable to that side of the business. But why don't you set the stage for what we'll be discussing today in terms of your websites, plural, and then we can use that to kind of launch off.
Yeah, sure. So about 6 years ago, I had done a presentation at a small gathering in Las Vegas that Stephen Kang ran, 31 Flavors event. So it's just a bunch of marketers, and the whole goal of it was everyone had to get there and present something. So you had to share something to the group. So I was kind of struggling on what I was going to talk about. Both myself and one of my partners were going out there to kind of do our thing, network with people and figure out what we're going to, present. So at the time, I had been in the process of really kind of taking what was kind of our bread and butter, our PBNs at that point, and kind of taking them to the next level. I mean, back in, 2013, 2014, that point, we were really ranking everything with PBNs. I mean, that was, our primary strategy for helping our client sites and everything else. But my goal always was, how do I make these a business asset in and of themselves, not just these depreciating assets where the PBNs just lose power over time. They're pretty much good for one thing and that's it. So what can I do above and beyond that to make these true business assets? So what I started doing back then was building these out as a Google News network, getting them all approved for Google News, for indexing purposes, for authority purposes, and everything else. And starting to get some traffic coming in so I can monetize it with display ads, selling guest posts, and things like that. And really making these websites so they could flip down the road outside of the agency like I said, as a complete business asset. So that's what I decided to speak on when I went to this conference, was kind of my process on how to really get approved for Google News. And there really wasn't much out there at the time. I think there was maybe one or two videos on YouTube. I couldn't really even understand with the accents and everything what they were talking about. So I kind of had to reverse engineer, figure out how to get approved. And I went through an entire process. I actually had some great conversations with the actual Google News approval staff. They were manually looking at everything at that point in time. It was a lot tougher back then than it is now. So I got a lot of great feedback from these people. I was able to kind of put together a process where I was able to get all my sites approved. And that's been working for me ever since. About, I guess, a year ago at this point, March or April of last year, there was a big Google News sweep where they cleaned out a lot of spam sites from Google News. I mean, I've done hundreds, if not thousands of sites at this point, and I didn't have a single one removed. So I've kind of got it down pat, where I've got these sites in there and they pass every manual approval process. So that's kind of where I started, kind of talking about how to get that done, take it to the next level, and create those PBNs as real business assets. And I've just been layering monetization strategies on top of it ever since, which is kind of my focus outside of the agency. I actually teach a course about kind of stacking authority, stacking trust, and being able to monetize it across tons of different platforms, and really building out either standalone niche sites or entire networks where I can kind of use this stuff whatever I need to do.
Hey everyone, Spencer here, founder of Niche Pursuits. Are you adding a new internal link pointing to each article you publish? You should be. Ever find it time-consuming and a bit overwhelming? Remembering what content you publish and deciding which anchor text to use can be a real headache. What if there was a better way? Well, that's exactly why I created Link Whisper. Simply click Add Inbound Internal Links, and Link Whisper will scan your site in seconds and suggest the most relevant links with appropriate anchor text for your new article. Now simply check the box next to the internal links you want to add, and Link Whisper will add these links for you. No need to go into each article, edit, and add the link. It's already done. No more manual internal link building or guesswork. Just efficient, accurate linking that saves you time and improves your SEO. Transform your content strategy with Link Whisper. Start linking smarter, not harder. Use the coupon code PODCAST for $15 off. Head over to linkwhisper.com and use coupon code PODCAST to get $15 off.
Maybe describe a typical site that's in your portfolio so people can get their mind around it. A lot of people listening are familiar and maybe working on a content site or what they call a content site, maybe primarily driven by advertising revenue and or affiliate revenue. A lot of people are dabbling in a lot of other things, but maybe describe a typical site in your network. And then if you could, let's address the elephant in the room. How are they doing in the last 6 to 9 months with the HCU and the Google Core updates that have come since then, et cetera?
Yeah, sure. So, of course. So typical site, I have a couple different ways that I do this, 2 different ways. One is more of the generic news sites, where I'm building them out to kind of be a jack of all trades, kind of a Swiss Army knife where I can really use it for anything I want. So I'll primarily create just a general news site. It can be sometimes I use a brand new domain. Sometimes I use an age domain that I pick up, kind of whatever I have in my portfolio at that point. And I'll build it out for all the different categories. I'll have a finance category, a health category, a legal category, whatever it may be. And I'm just pulling in news from all over the place. And then within those specific categories, I can niche down and create silos, whatever I'm really trying to promote at that particular point, or use it to help write my client sites, whatever I need to. And then I monetize it with, basically with a couple different methods in that case. So that the generic news sites, I really monetize a lot with the display ads. I do a lot of Amazon type stuff in there. I'll mix in a bunch of niche specific product reviews, and then tons of guest posts. Like for example, the guest post site I built out, anyone can take a peek at it, is my site I kind of use for testing purposes, and I actually built it specifically for that Stephen Kang conference I mentioned. It's called freepressdirectory.com. Guys, feel free to check it out, pick it apart. But that's a good example of kind of how I structure these generic news sites. And one of my big monetization techniques for that is the guest posts. And I found the easiest way where I can kind of monetize them overnight. Even though people tell you not to do this, to build out these Write For Us pages, Write For Us in the accounting category, the finance category, the legal category. I built dozens of these pages on these particular sites. And kind of the secret sauce is dropping in a table with all the search operators for that particular niche. So write for us plus accounting, accepting guest posts plus accounting. So I drop in a table of every single search operator that someone would use to find guest posts in that particular niche, put it in that write for us post, and I start getting traffic overnight, getting requests overnight. That particular website that I just mentioned, Free Press Directory, again, it's just for testing purposes. I haven't really used it forever. I just test things on it periodically, but I still get guest post requests, probably about 50 per day, 20, anywhere between 25 and 50 per day, saved to that particular site. Just because I have dozens and dozens of these pages, and they all have a table with different search operators for all the different niche-specific keywords that someone would use to find guest post opportunities. So then I can negotiate, $10, $20, $50, $100, depending on how powerful the site is, to really monetize it. So I find that to be the quickest and easy way to monetize it. I'm building out a network of those, and then you start getting traffic that way. And it's just kind of a snowball effect. You're getting more traffic, getting more rankings, getting more guest post requests, and then you're able to monetize it a lot better with the other methods, with Amazon or display ads or anything else you want to do from there. And then they also build out the really niche-specific authority sites, whether it's about parenting or a mommy blog or something like that, or, it could be anything. It could be celebrities, whatever it may be. But, kind of the same process where, basically I'm just really looking for tons and tons of opportunity with low competition keywords, but tons and tons of search volume. Where I can just kind of push out a topical authority map of all that type of content. And then all I'm doing is really just slamming with, rewritten PAA questions, and just creating posts around that and pushing it out over and over and over again. Again, monetizing it via display ads and the Amazon stuff and guest post requests and everything else. And that's kind of my two ways of doing it. The news networks is kind of more on the agency end of things. And then the authority to have specific non-niche authority sites are kind of for my own stuff, my own purposes. That's kind of the way I'm structuring them.
How many do you have? And again, maybe I like the way you've bucketed them, like the more news focused and then the more authority site niche specific focus. Like, how are these doing post-HCU?
So I haven't had a problem at all with any of them. Like I said, the way I kind of structure and stack authority on these sites, I like to think it's bulletproof. I know it's not. There's always going to be problems cropping up, but I try to satisfy the Google, quality rater guidelines as best as I can, and just making sure that I'm really kind of making my sites display that expertise, that authority and trust as best as possible for all different techniques and strategies, whether it's the content itself, the way the site is structured, the way I'm building out author personas, and everything else. I haven't lost any traffic, haven't had any drops, haven't had any problems. So a buddy of mine who's using the same things that I teach in my course and everything else has a site that's probably making $500,000 a month in the celebrity niche. Hasn't dropped at all, doing the same stuff that I'm doing. We have sites that are making, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month, and I haven't dropped it at all whatsoever. Any of the client sites that are using these techniques on are still growing after all the updates. So not a problem. I haven't seen any dips, any drops at all. The usual little ups and downs, but long term, up and at them. So can't complain.
Let's get into some of those items, because I think a lot of people feel like the entire model is under attack. Like, as soon as you look to be a content site or a niche site or an authority site, as soon as you look like one in the SERPs, the model is under attack. You seem to be a stark contrast to that. I've heard you say things like stacking authority, following Google Quality Rater guidelines. Like, let's unpack some of the things perhaps that you're doing that you think are really applicable to the success of these sites, especially over the last year or so.
Sure. So, and one of the big things you're talking about, like I said, it seems to be under attack. A lot of people talking about AI content, how it's, if you're pushing out AI content, you're just going to get shot down. It's never going to rank, never going to do anything. And to be honest, all my authority sites are done via AI. I'm primarily using things like like ZimWriter or Content Sprout to push out my content. Like ZimWriter, for example, I actually used a built-in topical authority generator just to generate the kind of a baseline of topical authority for my particular site, my particular niche, while I'll push out, over the course of the first couple months, maybe a few hundred articles, just to build out that topical authority, answer as many questions as I can. And then I start dripping in PAA content as kind of that supporting content, creating tons of internal links to all the other content that's already there. And then I start dripping in my money articles after that. But I'm just making sure that the site is structured properly. It looks the part. I want it to be that if they're doing a manual review, and they do it periodically. I mean, we've seen that, like I said, with that last Google News update, they are reviewing these periodically. So the first thing I want to do is make sure my site looks like a news site or looks like a high authority blog site, like it's some money been put into it. So I make sure there's some sort of magazine type theme that looks really professional, high-end logo, stock or AI generated images that actually look the part. Building out specific author personas for each and every category, each and every website that really kind of support the topics and have the experience behind them. My AI content is not just getting pushed in automatically for the most part. I do use ZimWriter to actually create and schedule everything, but I am actually going in and reviewing everything ahead of time and maybe using Harpo to kind of clean things up, do a little fact checking, using things like Grammarly just to clean it up a little bit, make sure everything looks the part, that it's well written and, people can read through it. And a big thing that I found is honestly dumbing it down based on your audience. So for example, that celebrity site, if I want to reach the widest possible audience, kind of the lowest common denominator in that particular niche, I'm dumbing it down to like a, third, fourth, fifth grade level, really short words and, small paragraphs and sentences and things like that. Whereas if I'm going in a legal niche or something like that, I can smart it up a little bit, maybe get into the high school grade level or something like that. But I'm matching the way the content is written to my audience and doing it that way. So I think that helps a lot. I'm not just throwing it all out there and kind of seeing what sticks. I'm making sure that I'm paying attention. It's getting pushed in automatically. It is created via AI, but there is a little human element of cleaning it up a little bit. And then I'm layering in those other things on top of it. Like for example, my authors that I build out. Some of them are real people, some of them, like for example, I will sometimes work with local college students and their professors to kind of contribute, be guest authors on some of my topics and things like that. So they're real people that have, kind of inherent trust and authority already. They're guest posting on my websites. But the personas I'm building out, these people they're Google local guides. So they're approved Google local guide accounts. They are, functioning out there, leading reviews and making map edits and things like that. For the most part, they are listed as Google Scholars as well. So they have Google Scholar profiles. They have all the requisite social profiles for themselves. I'm publishing Amazon ebooks on their behalf that every once in a while I'll get like 70 cents and then, it deposited in my bank account when the ebooks sold. So another source of income.
Yep.
I'm doing a lot of the AI generated podcasts and things for them. They are guest posting on other websites throughout my network and other third-party websites as well. So they're really kind of playing the part and, being active authors, not just on my site, but all over the place, whether it's social, whether it's third-party websites and other mediums too. And then I'm just making sure that I'm kind of, following the diggity method where EAT, a lot of that is backlinks. So I'm getting authoritative backlinks. Yep. And I have a couple specific types of what I like to call catalyst content that really, really helps me with that and kind of really powers up my site. It's bringing me a lot of brand name traffic coming in right away, which I think is huge. So I'm getting brand traffic coming in. I'm not just looking for this keyword-based traffic right out of the gate. I'm making sure I'm satisfying that brand search requirement. I'm getting that coming in right out of the gate. I'm getting expert contributors coming into me for free. I'm getting free backlinks, free press releases, free press mentions, tons of little things just based on this type of content. So it's really a kind of a combination of the way I structure the content, the way I'm building out these author personas, and then a couple of types of what I call the catalyst content. That's kind of really the cherry on top and brings in some of those other requirements that, Google's really looking for. I'm getting brand traffic. I'm getting social traffic. I'm getting Like I said, the press release, press mentions, and everything else coming right out of the gate.
I have a lot of notes, and so I'm gonna pepper you with questions about what you just overviewed. Let's start with this, if I could, with the Catalyst content, and maybe dive deeper into that, because I think a lot of people understand how to go after keywords that have a combination of low competition and perhaps high search volume, and people are kind of familiar with that, but. You talk about getting brand traffic right out of the gate. You talk about getting social traffic out of the gate. You talk about all these different types of traffic that you're creating. Maybe walk through what you're referring to as Catalyst content.
Sure. And I think this is the separator. I think if Google is going after, people complaining they're going after niche sites specifically or something like that, they're looking at these sites. All they're doing is pushing out AI content or, maybe human reviewed AI content, but they're specifically going after just the informational, the commercial type keywords and things like that. They're not bringing in the other types of traffic that they should be, that a true authority site would have, which is tons and tons of social shares, brand name search, recognition, and everything else. So the way I do it is using a couple different platforms. One of the things I'm doing really, really successfully lately, both for myself and for my clients, and it's been kind of a game changer, is taking advantage of Reddit traffic. Google loves Reddit. So specifically with that, what I'm doing is Reddit has a specific post type, a poll. You can run a Reddit poll, and this is just a single question, single multiple choice question. You can run a string of these. You can run one single question, whatever it may be. So basically, all I'm doing is I'm going into subreddits like reddit.com/polls, which is basically a community of hundreds of thousands of people, and all they do is take polls all day. So you can post a poll in there and get hundreds, if not thousands, of responses within hours and days. So I will go in there, create a poll around a particular topic that I want to, get some interest in. There will be a mention of my brand name or my website in there, so people are going to honestly go right out of the gate. Maybe Google my brand name, Google my name, or something like that. Take a peek at the website. Outside of Reddit itself, so I'm getting a little bit of traffic that way, a little bit of brand search that way. And then I'm getting, kind of real life feedback, real life data from people about a specific topic. I'm getting that survey content. And then I'm just taking that content and saying, I'm going right to ChatGPT, whatever AI program I'm using, and saying, hey, here's the results of the survey. This was the question. This was the survey. What can we draw from this? What kind of speaking points can we take out of these survey results? I'm letting AI do all the hard work. I don't do anything. I don't even think about it. I said, hey, here's results. Spit out the key takeaways that we can kind of correlate from all this, and now take that information and create an article outline for me. Okay, now take that information and create a blog article for me. And boom, I didn't have to do anything, even think about it. Then I'm taking that, posting it on my website, and embedding the actual Reddit survey in there right out of the gate, which has been really helpful. I've seen when I started doing that was kind of a big thing. So I have an AI generated article completely about real people, real survey results, real numbers that Google seems to love. I'm able sometimes within the comments of these surveys to take different, different quotes and things from different people and kind of sprinkle them in as well. And that's been really, really great. So whatever I need to talk about, whatever topics I want to talk about, I can go to different subreddits. I can go to Facebook groups and do the same exact thing. I can string together 2 or 3 different questions and create an even longer article. I've even used another way I've done this before is using like third-party survey tools where you're kind of embedding the poll on your website itself. I'm just creating a link within Reddit to it where they can, or Facebook, where they can actually go to your website. So I'm driving traffic from Reddit or Facebook to the survey on my site. You're going to get less responses that way, but you are driving the traffic to your site, the social traffic. They're taking the survey. The survey is set up on the actual blog article URL that it will be ultimately. So basically, and then once the survey is done, I'm taking down the survey embed and actually putting up the real article itself and everything's done. So that URL is getting social traffic all along to it, just based on driving people from Reddit or Facebook to there, to those particular things. So that's the first type of Catalyst content that's working super well for me. And it's been great. Once it's done, once the article's up and running, then I'm going to, X or, Twitter, it used to be called Twitter, and using the journal request hashtag to find, journalists in that particular niche would be interested in maybe quoting that article or reading that article or sharing it for me, whatever it may be, and doing a little traditional, more PR push, getting it out there. So I've gotten social traffic coming in from Reddit or from Facebook. And, I've got an article with, some real numbers that Google actually loves, some real, human generated, survey questions and topics and answers and everything else. And then I've got the journalists after the fact, are they quoting me, sometimes reaching out to my clients for a quote or me for a quote, and, really helping us kind of do the aftermarket push for that. So that's been really, really great lately. I think that's kind of one of the separators from just a traditional, niche authority sites, is getting that brand traffic, getting that social traffic and everything else. And then there's another type of catalyst content that I've kind of taught forever, and that's kind of the reverse Harrow method. And this is what I first started doing when I first started getting the Google News sites approved, back in like 2016, 2014, 2015, 2016. I needed a quick way to generate authoritative content. So, we've all used Harrow. A lot of us have used Harrow for the most part for getting backlinks for ourselves or clients. We go in there, we answer one of the queries. Hopefully they select us, and they'll print our quote with our name, a link back to our website, and it is what it is. So I went the other way, where I was actually getting my news sites approved as the outlets themselves. My authors were the ones that were soliciting these requests. So I'd put up a request about a particular article, like, what are your top, GMB tips and tricks for, promoting a local dental office or something like that. And overnight I'd get, 40, 50 different people submitting their input to me about what their tips and tricks were. And all I literally was doing was copying and pasting, best 10, 12, 15, whatever it is, and boom, instant roundup article. Didn't have to do anything. Maybe I create a little intro, a little outro, and then it's just a listicle, and that's it. Copy and paste, boom. As soon as that goes up, I notify the people that they were mentioned. Then they're sending me backlinks. They're putting me in their, in the press sections on their own website. They're, mentioning me in their own press releases, sharing me across social and everything else. When my query first went up on Harrow, again, they were going and they were Googling my website to see if it's something that they wanted to be mentioned in. So I'm getting the brand searches right out of the gate. I'm getting through, looking through the websites, looking through the different types of articles and everything else, and spending some time on there. So I'm getting social traffic, I'm getting brand searches, I'm getting a little bit of everything. And then again, I'm getting the benefit of what all these, experts are that are contributing to my website. And then, eventually they want to contribute other things. Hey, we got another article for you we'd like to put on your website. So, just generating a roster of guest authors that I can, leverage down the road for different things and go from there. But again, it's social traffic, it's brand search, and that's kind of really been the separator for me on my website, so kind of keep them as bulletproof as possible. I'm not just relying on that search traffic coming in based on, the money content or my, my PAA questions that I'm answering and everything else. I really want to make sure I'm giving Google exactly what it's looking for that I would expect to see in these bigger authority sites. Tons of brand search and tons of social traffic. That's what they get.
Hey everyone, Spencer here, founder of Niche Pursuits. Did you know that you can find and fix your orphan pages in the WordPress dashboard with Link Whisper? An orphan page is an article you've published with no internal links pointing to it from other articles on your site. Why should you fix your orphan pages? Well, it makes your site easier to crawl for Google, which can lead to more search traffic and improve your UX for your visitors. With Link Whisper, there is no need for expensive crawlers and tedious spreadsheets. Link Whisper simplifies the entire process. The orphan page dashboard in Link Whisper shows which pages need attention. It even recommends the perfect anchor text for your internal links. Ready to revolutionize your site's internal linking? Try Link Whisper today. Use the code PODCAST and get $15 off your purchase.
If you were to maybe look at one of the sites in your portfolio and kind of break it down a bit, what percentage of your overall traffic is search versus brand versus social? Like, what kind of percentages does that end up equating to?
Initially, it's a lot of social and brand search, but then it flips dramatically to tons and tons of search.
Right.
Where I'm sprinkling in the other stuff. But initially, it's mostly search and then brand name over the first few months. And then once it starts to pick up steam, I'm pushing out those articles, then it flips dramatically to where it's, 95%, just the organic search traffic coming in.
You're doing
Making
this
sure to
stuff.
keep sprinkling in that type of stuff over time.
Right. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. The search will grow over time, especially as you build that authority. Is this a process you're kind of always doing for content, or does it have phases you go through? It's heavy on the initial site creation and then you taper it off, or are you always pretty much investing in some of these content catalyst type topics that you went through?
Yeah, it's obviously heavier in the beginning. I want to kind of get that ball rolling, create that snowball effect, but I'm always sprinkling it in. I never stop. I always want to keep that going. Just make sure that, like I said, I want to make sure that if I were ever to have to kind of pass a manual review, that they see me kind of actively doing that type of stuff, promoting that type of stuff, bringing in outside expert sources, and creating this valuable piece of content with real surveys, real results from real people, and making sure that's all there. So I'm definitely sprinkling that through every single month. It might be 1 or 2 pieces, might be 10 pieces in the beginning, whatever it turns out to be, depending on how competitive that niche is going to be.
Right. Social media wise, are you doing anything else with social media to drive traffic? Are you creating a Facebook group? Are you posting regularly on social with some of the articles you're publishing? Doing any social media advertising, or anything other thing I didn't even mention?
No, for the most part, that's it. I'm just letting everything do the work for me, letting these third-party experts and Reddit and Facebook and them do all the promotion for me, and that's it. And then I'm just relying on the search traffic coming in after that.
Let's go back to what you talked about with authorship and all of the lengths you're going to when it comes to your authors. I mean, I have notes here. You work with Google Local Guides, Google Scholars, publishing ebooks, guest posting on other sites with that author, even having them as podcast guests, and probably a few other things that you mentioned. How much extra work is all that? How much does that require out of you? Because it sounds like a lot of work, but it sounds also like it's a pretty vital part of your strategy.
It is a lot of work, which is why I primarily do it for the, what I consider the editors in chief on these particular sites. Like I will have multiple authors for each particular site, but I won't go as deep down the rabbit hole with every single author on a website. But I'm really making that editor in chief who's mentioned on the homepage and then the footer of the websites and everything else, and they have their own about page. And I'm really making sure that they have all that stuff in place. So if I personally have a few dozen websites that I'm working on currently, then I have my VAs working on that stuff and building that stuff out, pushing that type of social activity for my author, my editors, and making them look the part. And thank God AI now. I can kind of put stuff out a lot quicker than I ever did in the past, without having to use spin rewrite or anything else like we were doing previously.
The general concept is to make each of these authors kind of an expert in Google's eyes through, footprints, basically. I mean, can you explain, though, more in depth the concept there so that everybody listening kind of understands why you're going to all these lengths with all this extra work for at least your editors, at least some of your high profile authors?
Yep. Yeah, sure. So basically I want to satisfy the requirements, so we're looking at, expertise, experience, authority, and trust. I want to demonstrate that, and not that I necessarily think it's a direct ranking requirement or anything like that. Like they're not specifically rewarding me just for what I'm doing on here, but I like to stack trust and bake that trust and authority in from day one. So I want to make sure that we are, like I said, demonstrating some sort of level of expertise and authority with these personas, building them out, making sure that they are showing the knowledge of their whatever topics that they're speaking about, whatever the site is about, and making sure that I'm tying everything together and it's completely visible to Google. Like I'm making sure that the schema, my author schema for that particular author profile page, pulls in everything, pulls in all their social profiles, pulls in all their guest posts that they've guest authored on other websites, maybe they get picked up on IMDb for a podcast or something like that. Then I'm mentioning that in there. Just maybe creating a roadmap for Google to see how widespread this person is and how authoritative they are. You should just make it as easy as possible for Google to kind of tie everything together without me having to kind of go out there and, kind of hammer them over the head with it. Like I said, it's a lot of work. So you might as well kind of make sure that Google knows about it. So the goal always is, again, to bake in that authority and trust right out of the gate, make sure that Google can see it, and, they're going to reward you for it. And not only that, I want it to be for, for the reader benefit as well. I think in the long run, it helps me with a lot of times with conversions, with the site on time and things like that. Only if it looks the part, if they're seeing these expert contributors and these expert authors on a particular site, maybe they trust it a little more, they spend a little more time on the site, they dig a little deeper, they come back, 2, 3, 4 times, whatever it may be. So it's not only just for ranking purposes that I'm looking for. I'm looking for to help with conversion purposes, to help with, all the user metrics and everything else as well, just by kind of baking in that trust and everything right out of the gate. And again, just making sure that Google can see it all and it's easily visible to them.
Let's switch to talking about monetization, if we could. You already did touch on it a bit, but I wanted to kind of dig into some of these strategies. You talked about display ads, affiliate revenue, guest posting as a revenue opportunity. Again, looking at one of your sites, how does that break down typically? What's the percentage in terms of total revenue from display ads versus your affiliate earnings versus, say, that guest post tactic?
So the bigger, more specific niche sites, the authority sites where it's kind of niche down to one particular topic like parenting or something like that, I'd say it's almost worked out to be kind of a 50-50 split between display ads and whatever other type of affiliate monetization. It's usually Amazon or something like that I'm kind of pulling in money from. So it worked out to be about a 50-50 split that way. The other sites where I have either local news networks or my general news sites or things like that, it's really more towards the guest post end of things, and then whatever else I'm using it for beyond that. That's where I'm making most of my money. The vast majority of the money is on the guest post end of things. And start to get traffic and make some display money, but it's definitely skewed towards the guest post things. One of the things I really do with these news networks is I build out these branded news networks. Like I have one called U.S. Daily Globe, and then I build out a network of 50 different sites, so one for each state. So I have the U.S. Daily Globe, then I have the NY Daily Globe, the NJ Daily Globe, one for every state there is. And I have a branded news network. Each one of these sites has a different editor-in-chief, but they're all primarily republishing the same content. The only thing that's different is one specific category. That's the local category. So something that's related to New York or New Jersey or Connecticut or whatever state I'm talking about at that particular point. On those types of sites, I'm really getting a lot of money doing kind of like branded PR pushes for clients and selling packages and stuff like that, where I can do some sort of advertorial type content for people. So I'll sell advertorial packages, where we can do a deep dive into one of the services or their products, or an interview with the founder or one of their employees or something like that, and really just kind of control their narrative about their brand. And then we back it up with press releases and everything else. So I sell, traditional guest posts where people come to me and, hey, they want to pitch something to me, but I'm also selling these packages where it's actually basically pitching them a guest post. We're getting interviews and things like that, expert interviews and advertorials about their companies and monetizing it that way as well. Or I'll build in a kind of a hybrid site, or I'll build a new site with a directory in it. And then I will just basically scrape all the Google Maps listings for whatever niche I'm in, import all those listings already. And then now I have an entire bunch of people that I can reach out to right out of the gate. Basically have a built-in lead network where I can say, hey, we have you in a directory. We'd like to do a featured article about you. So now I get an expert, basically contributing content to me. I send them to a Google Doc where they can answer all the questions, and all they do is copy and paste that into an interview style article on the thing, and boom, it's the news article. And then I can upsell in other things, other processes and everything else. I'm also using these news networks as kind of a handoff to my own agency, kind of a lead gen for my own agency. So I'm doing a lot of like award style articles, like, hey, best New York City divorce attorney 2024. And I'll actually go out of my way and do these direct mail to people. Sometimes if it's a big niche, I'll actually get one of those crystal awards printed up and mail it to them. They're like, hey, they won the award for 2024. Congrats. And by the way, the reason we chose you was based on a deep dive that your digital marketing agency did on the lawyers in your in your area for visibility and things like that. Here's their report that they sent you. And then, would you like an introduction to them? So we're kind of doing a warm referral from me to me. They just don't know it.
Yep.
So there's tons of ways I can monetize it, and it's just stacking these monetization methods, just like I stack the authority and trust, and always trying new things, figuring out ways I can monetize it, and make more money. I like money, so the more that comes in, the better it is for me.
It's probably a good time to ask. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone listening will have been wondering this in the back of their head. I've had on my list for a while now, so I'll just ask it now. How do you accomplish all this? How do you get all this done? This is a lot of work. You've referenced VAs, and obviously you have an agency you're a part of, so there's got to be some team component there. But how do you structure getting all of this stuff accomplished? That seems like so much to manage.
So outside, the agency, like I said, we do have employees. We're a pretty big agency. It's not a problem there. But outside of the agency, if it's just on affiliate websites, it is a team of VAs. So it's probably, depending on the size of the site, maybe 2 or 3 VAs that manage each and every site. Someone to kind of manage and oversee everything. And then really just people to go in there just to make sure that like I said, they're going through the content with Grammarly. They're using Harpa to, fact check everything, kind of go through there and clean it up, making sure that the images that were generated via AI match the intent of the content and everything else, and replacing it if need be and things like that. So 2, maybe 3 VAs per website. And that's all they're doing. They're just pushing every day just to make sure that we get everything published on time and get pushed out there and keep up with everything. It's all AI driven. I mean, I do all it. It's enough for me where I can spend an entire weekend and just map out the content for months and months and months. Just give it to them and they just run it through Zinwriter. It's automatically pushed in and scheduled for months at a time. Don't really have to worry about that. I do a lot of work up front. Like I said, I spend a weekend while I'm sitting there watching football or baseball, whatever it may be. Sit there with my laptop, get everything set up and queued up for them. And then they have their content scheduled for months at a time. And then they just go, they hammer it out every single day.
Talk to the website owner that's listening that has gotten hit by the HCU, has seen 80%, I'm just making up a number, but certainly we've seen people ranging from half their traffic go away to 80% of their traffic go away. Like you touched on some of the things that you think they're probably getting wrong, but if we could just recircle that again, what are some of the big mistakes that you see people making that have led to some big traffic losses in the last year or so?
So me, I may be kind of being a little over aggressive on pushing out the AI content, the publishing schedules. We kind of ramp it up a little slow. And then we get it up to the point where we can kind of push anywhere between 24 and 48 articles per day to these websites. We're publishing every hour, every half an hour on some of the bigger websites, but we'll start small. We will only publish, 50, 60 articles that first month and, maybe 100 articles the next month and go from there. So we start small. We make sure it is human reviewed, everything's done properly. And then I think the big thing is that catalyst content, I want that search traffic from, coming in for branded search, and I want that social traffic component as well too. So I think that's what happened. I have worked with a couple people who have gotten hit, and we've started to sprinkle in some of that catalyst type content, and we can see it starting to help. We're not all the way back yet, but there is definitely an upturn, where we're getting that traffic coming in from Reddit, getting those branded searches, and Google's starting to reward them again and pick it back up a little bit. So it's definitely helped. I think that's, from what I've seen, that's kind of the missing piece. It's been that branded search and that social type search.
If I were to break down to its most simplest element, which obviously what you're doing is not simple, I just kind of went on about that, but it from a traffic standpoint, you're hyper focused on getting a wide spread of traffic, of types of traffic, right? So social, branded, and search. And even though search becomes very dominant as a percentage of your traffic as the site grows, you're still feeding branded and social traffic to the site on a consistent basis. And then you're backing that up with a whole web of authorship that clearly indicates that the people that are responsible for the content have a wide array of expertise. I mean, from a high level, it sounds simple, but I think the execution on it is where you really are succeeding on a great level.
Yeah, exactly. So that's and it's taken me a while to get there. Like I said, I had the kind of the first piece of the puzzle, which was getting the Google News approved, starting to stack in that trust and authority in Google's eyes, at least, building out those author personas. And then kind of the real home run was kind of layering in these, figuring out different ways to get the other types of traffic coming in using that catalyst content. So initially it was kind of that reverse Harrow method. Now it's using Harrow switched to connectively just recently.
Mm-hmm.
It's even easier to get approved in there now. You had to jump through hoops to get approved for Harrow before. You don't have to now. You can sign up for Connectively Account, start from one of your blog today without any problems now. So definitely suggest you start doing that. And same thing with Reddit. Create a Reddit account, start publishing polls. Start getting some data, data-rich data-rich blog content run into your site right away. Do it for yourselves, to your clients, for your niche sites, and reap the benefits. It works.
I have a few minutes left, so let me ask you about Google News. And what tips do you have for people to get approved for that platform? And how important do you think it is that a website should focus on that from just a standpoint of growth over time?
So I don't think it's super important. I mean, I actually do consulting for it for some big clients and things like that as well too, getting them approved in Google News. I don't think it's super important from a traffic standpoint. It was much kind of a bigger factor back in the day. Really helps with kind of, in my case, it's really just authority, and it does help with indexing. It's not as big of an indexing factor as it was previously, but when I'm submitting for Google News, even if I submit just one category on my website, what you can do, you don't have to submit the entire website, just submit one category for Google News approval. Even just getting that one category approved, they're automatically pulling in content from all over your website. I mean, sometimes they'll just randomly pull in my my policy pages, things like that at Google News for some reason. I don't know what it is, but they tend to crawl everything at that point, which is super helpful. And then there's other tons of things that I can use it for as well. Like I can use it for indexing other third-party websites. I'll create custom XML site maps, all the backlinks that I want to get indexed, and submit that, through Search Console, or run that through Google News and get that as well. So there's tons of little things you can use it for. But for the most part, like I said, it's kind of been my go-to just because it makes me build out the site so I know it'll pass a manual review down the road. So it looks the part. It really is the part. And it's just, I don't think it's necessary as it was in the past, but I just think it's helpful for me. It just kind of reminds me to make sure that I need to be doing things the right way, not to take any shortcuts.
I was going to highlight that. That's a really interesting point. Like the concept of forcing yourself to make the site Google News approval ready almost forces you to do all the things that a site needs to do well long-term in Google's eyes.
Mm-hmm. And it's easy. It's a lot easier than it was in the past. I mean, I can literally it's copy and paste right now. I can actually take a website, clone it with the exact same content, just switch out the logo and the headings, just resubmit the same site and get it approved by Google News. I mean, that's how I build out these branded news networks. Like I said, it's the same content. I'm just swapping out the site name and the logo, and that's it. Swapping out the author, but it's the same exact content. It's getting approved in Google News. So as long as it looks the part, for the most part, it has the requisite policy pages and everything else, and putting in the the editorial policy, the terms of use, the privacy, cookie policy. I have started using kind of an AI generated content policy in there as well too, just to kind of cover all my bases. Just making sure that anything that Google would want to know about my site and being upfront about. And like I said, make sure it looks the part. Make sure it looks like a new site. I'm using a high quality theme. I got a professional logo and quality stock photos or AI generated photos, and the content is well written. It's being human reviewed and cleaned up grammarly, cleaned up with HARPA, and it reads well. And I dumb it down to the lowest common denominator for that particular niche that I'm writing for. And that's been really helpful.
Last question out of me. And we could probably do a whole podcast on this question, but it is what it is. We're here. So much good stuff already. But backlinks, you mentioned them as part of a strategy that you use, but what is your backlink strategy from a high level? What are you doing when it comes to these individual sites, and how much of an emphasis is it?
So my goal is not to do any. as much as possible. Because I'm cheap. I want to make the money, not spend money on that type of stuff.
Yep.
But I do believe it's going to be necessary in certain niches, specifically for the money content I'm putting onto these websites. Tons of internal linking is happening for sure. When I'm pushing out these money articles that, are, whether they're affiliate roundup articles or something like that, or promoting an affiliate offer, they're getting tons of internal links from all my, topic authority content, for all the PA type questions and everything, funneling all that internal link juice to that. But I am sprinkling in the other backlinks. I try to generate my backlinks organically using the Catalyst content. People sharing on social media, people linking to it to their website, mentioning it in their blog articles. I use X a lot, I said, for the journal request hashtag and find journalists to share it. But then I do go out there and I do purchase articles. I do purchase backlinks, guest posts and niche edits, for my money content. So that's really where if I'm purchasing third-party backlinks, is going to be for my money content to power that stuff up. Everything else is just coming in organic. It's just, ranking organically just based on the way I structure the content. It's low competition, tons and tons of search volume, and I'm getting all the traffic in that way. But for my money articles, I do power it up with third-party links, just a mix of everything. I try to get it as much as I can from, like I said, from the Catalyst content, the other things that I mentioned. But I will go out there and specifically buy guest posts and press releases and everything else just to kind of power that stuff up and just keep sprinkling it over time.
Brian, this has been a really great episode. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for just sharing the tactics you're using. And I think it's interesting. I hope people listening will see your success through a lot of these updates as a combination of everything you're doing. It would be easy for someone to listen and kind of cherry pick certain things they like about what you're doing and then ignore other things. But I really do, as I listen to you, it is clearly a very strategic way that you're going about all these things. And I think that it's really important to kind of highlight that as we close out.
Yeah, thank you. Much appreciated. Great being on.
Where can people, follow along with what you're doing if there's any place to direct people to it all?
So I do have a course that kind of discusses everything. They can follow me along there and on the Facebook group. It's called Authority Amplifier Pro. So they can follow me on Facebook. They can look for my course and, follow along on the journey. And I actually do a lot of the kind of the over-the-shoulder stuff where I'm actually sharing a lot of these sites within my Facebook group and everything else. So they can see it all live.
Well, good. We'll get a link to that. Brian, thank you again for coming on. Really appreciate it. And all the best.
You got it, Jared. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the Niche Pursuits podcast. I just wanted to remind you that if you are ready to start building smarter, faster, and easier internal links, you should check out Link Whisper. You can get $15 off Link Whisper when you use the coupon code podcast at checkout. Head over to linkwhisper.com and use the code podcast in order to save $15. Thanks again for listening.